Hi everyone. Today I would like to introduce to you a very special friend of mine, Desmund Bernardo from the channel 00Dezz. And I would like to introduce to you uh, his experiences, and we're going to be having a lot of thoughts on many subjects that will be coming up as well. And this is part of the Spirit Amongst the Winds of War anthology, which is part of the series for those who have been seeing these videos. And it's my honor to have you on board, Desmond. Thank you so much for being part of this broadcast today.
Well, thank you for having me, and I'm looking forward to what we're going to be talking about. I have no idea what that's going to be, and that's the way I like it.
Good.
So yes, cold off the cuff.
Oh, excellent. Shoot from the hip. That's what I like. Basically, what we're going to be having is a little bit of a brief discussion or description of the information as such, which is about psychosis and how the spirit as well as the psyche are also influenced by mass hysteria. And I've chosen a topic called Psychonautica, which I will read to everyone that psychonautics refers to a methodology for describing and explaining the subjective effects of altered states of consciousness, especially an important subgroup called holotropic states, including those induced mind-altering substances. Holotropic states also mean characteristics of non-ordinary states of consciousness, such as subconsciousness experiences. Contemporary psychiatry often categorizes these experiences as non-ordinary states of psychotic or psychosis. So before we kick off, I'd first like to just give a brief of how I know you and what I know of you, and then I'll ask you to please, share with everyone else. Desmond, what I know about Desmond for everyone who is listening here is that you've been on the path of truth for a long time and that you've had extensive experiences within the National Air Force in 1990 and in a career as nuclear professional from 1992 to 2018. Desmond, you and your wife, Lauren Evanthia, founder of Organic Humanity Movement, and your family have traveled enormous distances throughout the entire South Africa, visiting 4 out of 9 provinces, seeding the consciousness and reminding people of the organic truth of liberty and what is inherent within all of us as our sacred truth. Desmond, I know that you're a self-made man, but I would like to ask you to please enlarge on where I have left out information of you.
Um, the first thing is just yesterday. It's interesting you mentioned the 4 out of 9 provinces. It's 8 out of 9 provinces. I just updated it yesterday, so I apologize. I apologize about that. We've traveled through the Northern Cape, but we've had no organized meetings there yet. And I think there's probably many people upset about that. And we apologize, but there are reasons for everything. And we feel where we need to be at a given point in time. We don't ask questions. We actually follow the path that's just laid out for us. It feels very much like things happen to you, but you are willing to open your mind to it. And then you basically go and you get involved and you do what you want to do. But with regards to what we've been doing for the past year, it's been a year of touring over 50,000 kilometers around the country. A lot of people might think, wow, that's a lot, that's impossible, but we've done 4 rounds now. And in those rounds are driving up and down to meetings and so on. The odometer doesn't lie. It's at over 150,000 kilometers, and we started on 98,000 kilometers. It's basically what we've done. It's like going around the earth twice, just to put it into perspective.
Yeah.
With my wife and 4 kids. And we didn't plan this. It was never on our minds. I don't want to call it fate. It's probably something that that organically happens as circumstances come your way. That is how I see what happened to us, and I can logically explain each and every step as it took place in a very simple way. And from the fact that a friend of mine contacted me, wanted to know what's going on, I went to him in level 5 lockdown and explained to him what I knew. And he then called me into a room at his business the following Monday, and there were a whole bunch of people assembled there, and everyone had to leave their phones outside. And he said, what you told me, tell all of these people. And I did that. And subsequently, he contacted me and said, you need to go on tour around the country and tell the country what you've told us.
Okay.
And at that stage, I've had 2 invites from people to come and speak to them in meetings. The first one was from a family in Durban that said they'll fly myself and my entire family out to come and meet with them and give them this information. Now, this is quite something. If you actually think that all my meetings were arranged by other people.
Yeah.
It was not arranged by myself. And they would then invite people to the meetings. I walked into the meetings cold. I stopped counting at over 300 meetings. So I don't know how many meetings it was exactly. It's over 8,000 people we've seen. Sure. And everything evolved organically. And I don't know how to explain that. Except if we maybe delve into my childhood, then I can speak about things that I experienced then. And yeah. Okay. I don't know if there's anything else you want me to mention. Well, there's a lot I can.
Well, I've got some thoughts that I've notated. So I'd like to just explain to everyone. This is not just South African information, South Africa. This is the world. Information based on the world and all of the hidden hand or the Machiavellian, subterfuge going on in the background. So Desmond is very clear and daily brings information on his channel, not just only for South Africans, but for everyone in the world, to actually understand the deeper alchemical truth of what's going on. So for that, in that case, this is why we are having this discussion. I'm very, very happy that we're doing this.
You can shoot anything. I'm not scared.
Well, that's good, because I'm not scared either. Okay. Basically, what I've got here is just I've noticed that there's a lot of psyche, and when I'm talking about the psyche, I'm speaking about the consciousness of mind, of thoughts that have been interfered with radically in the world through, obviously, mind control, which is not anything new to anyone listening here. But essentially, if the Nazis value the psyche or the psychic ability of a country as highly important, then we must also be considering the psyche as well, the spirit or the consciousness. And in such, you may have been experiencing a lot of that particular psyche or that psychic experiences or transference from people as you've been going through the country. You may have been discovering new layers of psyche as you went through your journey.
Yeah. Well, you might have been present at one of the meetings where I actually spoke rubbish for quite a period of time to get rid of one particular person.
Yeah.
So I can actually feel when I walk into a meeting if there's something wrong or there's a person that needs to be removed from the room. And I will generally not ask them to leave. I only did that once after a person dared to make a comment. And it was actually a young lady and her brother left with her. And she asked me, are you going to keep on speaking about X, Y, Z? And I said, absolutely. This is necessary for specific reasons. Mm-hmm. And I said, if you want to come and stand in front, you may, and then you can take over the meeting. I always give people that opportunity, or I said you can leave.
Mm.
And father was there, and I can see he had to bite his lip in that instance, but he stayed behind, and she left with her brother, and they had to sit in the car for another 5 hours
Mm.
because that's how long the meeting took.
Yeah.
And father came to shake my hand afterwards and thank me for the information. And it's a pity that someone would use a bias to not be open to information, and that is fine. Many people that come to my meetings might not believe in what I'm talking about, but I can sense if they are not there to learn.
Mm.
And then I need them to leave. I don't need that energy in the room. I can feel it immediately. And I could probably count now on two hands of occasions where I would change what I'm speaking about until those people leave the room. And somehow I feel what I can discuss to annoy them. And the longest it's taken to get rid of someone is half an hour.
Oh, no.
But
That's
then,
good.
but then there's another 5-6 hours afterwards. So it's well worth it.
Yeah. Well,
But I
that's,
generally entertain the people, so it's normally not boring during that time.
yeah, well, it's definitely, it's enlightening. It's, for me, it's very enlightening. I mean, we've connected on a very deep psychic level probably before you came.
Yeah.
And so we knew this was it. This is it. And when you get that sense, you know, life's not going to be the same afterwards. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
definitely, yeah.
And the one thing that I've noticed in meetings is I don't actually know why I have the ability to spot the people, or that I have the ability to know what to say to get them to leave.
Mm.
I don't know where that comes from. I can't explain it, but I believe it's probably something I've had since I was a child. And I believe in outside influence or inspiration.
Yeah.
And I follow that inspiration, and it's brought me to where I am today. And I'm not going to stop. I don't think that I am high and mighty in any way, shape, or form.
Mm.
It's because of the inspiration that I've been willing to and humble enough to listen to, that I've been able to achieve things with other people, for other people, and in my own life.
Yeah. This is the spirit or the pneuma that I feel is very, very important for us to actually bring in. It is the lack of awareness of that particular aspect that I see, that I'm going to say, I feel is the reason for psychosis to begin with, when there's a fracturing taking place in the consciousness. Um, the reason I'm hammering on this, and I've been hammering on this now for everyone that knows me now for a long, long time on this channel, and even my friends and family, that I'm always going to be hammering about the spirit, because this is aside from any particular religious belief as such. We're speaking about the pneuma, or the spirit, that which is the higher self, which is directly connected to a greater higher self or great spirit, which is what allows the soul or the anima mundi to go into the world. Many people don't seem to understand that the soul is separate from the spirit, which is quite interesting. And this is where I think where there's a lot of misunderstanding that takes place with what's been going on now. Given, yeah, that the dog has maybe 300 ticks on its back.
Well, psychosis is everywhere. Psychosis is everywhere. And it was frightening to go around the country. And I've had to use the word psychotic in my videos many times, because people are becoming psychotic.
Yeah.
You know, when someone declares themselves to be something ahead of time, it's psychosis that is set in. Maybe a few other things too.
Mm.
But for a population to follow psychosis, I don't know what to call that.
That is why I call it
I'm deeply concerned with the fact that so many people follow psychotic people, or follow psychosis, psychotic thinking, ideology, anything that removes freedom,
Yeah.
there has to be a level of psychosis involved for you to willingly relinquish freedom.
Yeah.
If you understand where I'm trying to go with this.
I am definitely. It's a belief. If there's a belief in a higher power, such as a higher dominance power and if there's a belief in a hierarchy, then there is an immediate subjected belief or surrender to a higher form that will dominate that person. And we're speaking about a difference in being inwardly connected to a higher spirited self versus an external belief which we give power to control us. I think that is where the issue comes in. Would you say?
Well, the fact that people are willing to do that, and what gets them to that state.
Yeah.
And this is what we need to focus on. And faith and hope are very interesting words if you actually dissect them. And I believe that people need hope to not go into a state of psychosis. And if you have hope and understanding, and then you have faith in the solution and in yourself and your abilities that you were born with, then you can improve yourself to the point where you can become an asset to society and civility, etc. And that is desperately needed throughout the world at the moment, not just in South Africa. Yeah. Although we focus here, there's people throughout the world that can benefit from just the very basic things that we as humans are capable of.
Yeah, that is definitely correct. That is true. I'm very much supporting that thought of yours. I tend to analyze, I suppose, just like you. I have an ability where I go into analyzing something to its nanoparticles to find the root of it and then to put it all together so that it makes a more coherent. But that's aside from the topic. What I wanted to say is I think the whole idea about faith perhaps must be more defined into being convinced of the self rather than believe. To believe is future speak. So it'll never happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I like the way you're putting that because that's important. We need people to act. Yeah. And for people to act, just having hope and faith is not enough. If it doesn't translate into action within yourself, what is the point?
Yeah, that is right. Then at some point, then how do you then, and self-identification in terms of, now aside from what I want to bring in is we must understand that this is a metaphysical discussion about things that are inherent in the human psyche as such. And what I want to bring in is that we must take note of who we see ourselves as. I think the identification of the self is what leads to being able to see, okay, yes, I am a fish. I'm supposed to be in the pond or in the sea or whatever. If there's and that's where they came in with the externalizing of the attention. The attention keeps being taken out from the self, from within, keeps being given out externally. And then once when one looks outside of oneself, then there is a seeking, or you're looking for something to, look up at, like an idol or a pop star. And then there is the subconscious contract made to believe that that person or that entity or that element will be the saving for me, or that thing which makes me subjected to. You follow where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I've always seen myself as a willing tool.
Yeah.
Now, to become a tool, you need to develop skills. You need to be able to be good at the workmanship that you're supposed to be used for, and prepare yourself for that. Any tool is crafted and I'm a willing to, because I'm willing to lay aside my own wants and whims, my physical body's wants and whims, and everything that we're doing right now is in the spiritual realm. I don't know how else to
Yeah.
describe it.
Well, that is.
And it is driven by good, by the forces of good, real energy. I mean, you cannot deny it. And I mean, even although I'm a highly skilled and trained nuclear professional, even in that field, I have experienced things that prove to me that there are forces in the universe that wants good to actually happen if you're willing to listen.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw my video where I spoke about an experience with Justice Killian, where I listened to just a voice in my head in that moment where I was doing fuel landing at Kuberg Nuclear Power Station, and I had a fuel assembly in the crane. And I just let go of the lever in an instant. And everyone looked at me that was on the crane because I almost fell over the side. And they were upset until they looked down into the reactor and saw that I almost smashed into the side. Now, I wasn't looking at the bottom when I let go of the lever. Something compelled me to let go of the lever at full speed. And if you are trained in so many different fields, mechanical engineering fields, scientific fields, and you experience something like that, there's nothing in science that can explain it except for the fact that it actually happened, and there were other people there that witnessed it.
Yeah.
And you know, it's far-reaching. There's many other examples like that that I've experienced in my life. So I don't doubt that there are forces in the universe, whatever you want to call it, that wants to influence us for good if we are willing to listen. And if we are willing to use ourselves as a tool to make that good happen, we will be used. So if you make yourself available, you'll be used for good. And even although I couldn't explain how it would happen, I still can't explain exactly how things would happen in future. All I know is if I continue doing what I am, we'll get the best outcome, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah, that definitely makes sense because I've had dreams and I've been given sights of what you've been doing before you even did it. So that is how interesting this connection is with you. And therefore I know that that force is the same force that's been wanting to bring the same information through. This probably is the first time, from what I feel, from what I know, in millennia, that there has been a concentration of information at such a point right now, where there's a good energy that's trying to bring the information together for people to see. I've never seen or experienced, from what I feel, it has happened before. I mean, this is the first time. I think this is why it's so very, very specific. We are in the age of reason now.
Yes, and well, I can sense that since I was a young boy, I knew that certain things would happen in my future. I didn't understand how, when, or where it would happen. And I mean, waiting 49 years for it to start happening, and it's just the start, is fascinating. It's been bothering me my whole life, knowing that there's something that I need to do in future that's significant for the country and for humanity, and not understanding how, what, or why. It has been frustrating for me, and I never knew how it would happen, how it would come about, but when it happened, I knew this was it. And I needed to do certain things. So yeah, it's important to be open, just to be open to that goodness coming through. And I believe this is happening around the world, and what we are experiencing now, I hope many other people are experiencing this. I hope it's not just in South Africa, but I do believe South Africa is key to what will happen in the rest of the world.
Yeah. South Africa was, from what I know, aside from the fact that it's so massive in its bigger continent structure. I know that Africa in itself is a very strong key to, there was this whole thing about the cradle of man where they spoke about Africa being the cradle of man, and then they changed and they said, no, it's actually there. And no, it's actually there. Subterfuge. Um, in a sense, South Africa is the solar plexus or the stomach of the planet. So, and essentially, yeah, how you want to have your tummy nice and full, so you want to look after your stomach, right? Aside from all of the drama that's happening in South Africa, it's happening everywhere. It's not just here. There's such a typecasting, and yeah. Desmond, what did you experience? I mean, you've had experiences as a child. You brought that up. Would you mind sharing just a few? Please go ahead.
I can remember when I was a young boy, I might have mentioned this before, I would wake up before the entire family and I would go outside, climb into a tree and watch the sunrise. And actually just look at nature. I would look at the smallest details of nature. I would watch ants walking, bees flying around, butterflies for hours and hours, doing nothing but just observing and keeping quiet. I wouldn't speak in that entire time. And I remember while sitting in the tree, when I started counting at school, I would count up to 1,000 and back to 0. Now, I don't know what psychologists would think about this, but I wanted to be fluent in doing that. I was probably 5 or 6 years old at the time. But yeah, that's something that I would do. And while I was doing that, I could experience and feel certain things about myself. I was removed from my 3 younger sisters, my mother and father. I was on my own. I was in nature. And although I was in the safety of a backyard, I felt like I was out there. And those experiences I'll never forget because it made me feel like I was important as a human. Interestingly enough, even when circumstances at school was bad, that would keep me going. Those silent moments when I'm not bombarded with the horrible experiences that I had on my first day at school. I mean, the first time I went into the boys' bathrooms, I saw guys standing at the urinals, peeing into their mouths. Sorry to have to mention this, but this was my first experience using the bathroom at school.
That's very damaging for a child's psyche.
Yeah, and I saw boys taking the toilet paper that they're wiping their butts with and throwing it onto the scene. And this was in Paul, this is a school with kids that had parents that were well off. But this is what I saw humanity do in front of my very eyes. And I always wanted to separate myself from that. That moment, maybe I experienced that so that the separation was that big. I've always battled to be friends with men because of that. I'm a Virgo, so I'm probably more in touch with my feminine side. And that's why I get along with...
Sorry.
I get along with women famously. And I make friends with women easier than I can't be in the midst of man talk. I've never been able to do that. I don't know if it was that day that influenced me, but certainly it had a huge impact on me because I remember it to this very day. That humans, they were dressed. They weren't in skins, in bear skins in a cave. Okay? They were dressed in school clothes, in beautiful bathrooms, toilets, and that is what they were doing, something debased. And it changed my perspective of what humans are capable of, the worst versus the best that I saw. The principal's daughter befriended me, and I never thought that a girl like her, I thought she was quite pretty at the time, she was friends with me and spent time with me in a very innocent way. And that made me feel like I mattered. Because there's many things in my life that made me feel that I didn't matter. My primary school was terrible. I hated the whole concept of school. I played with other kids. I played sports. I had lots of fun, especially at Paul Boys. I played rugby at Noordtuin, which is the first school I was just speaking of. However, I still felt separated from normal society. I always have.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I walk around and I look at the people around me and I think, oh my word, let's just leave it there.
Yeah, you're probably seeing the familiars just like we do when we experience. I would say, coming back to you before I speak about what I wanted to say, is you've tend to want experience the duality of human nature and its absolute, which definitely would do
Yeah.
that to me too. It has. I think it's done to most kids, those who are in the place that
Probably.
we are in.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're very aware of things on a spiritual level, then you're definitely going to get shocked. I mean, we were all shocked. I'm speaking about
Mm.
my partner as well. We were all shocked when we were growing up. Um, what I wanted to say though is that it's probably it's very interesting. I don't know if you've noticed. I'm going to just throw this in here. Is have you actually had a look at what their auric fields look like? These I would call these people familiars. Just like the witches have an animal with them, and when the witch wants to create this magic spell, she has a little cat or an animal or a frog or something there, and that entity is then useful for a spirit that they want to bring into their magic spell. Just like um, rituals are done in buildings or at buildings or constructed sites, which are called egregores, which have a, a, a living aspect to it. You must have seen familiars
Um,
there.
uh,
Spirits or
yes, I'm very familiar with that. You know, you can say that someone has a spirit of discernment, that uh, we, you could feel when you're in a certain area that they might even be evil there or something
yeah.
dark or something that's not light,
Mm,
and discern and feel that. So I certainly think that it's a spiritual universe that we live in.
mm,
I believe that. Many people might not, and that's fine. And we can sense things. So if you're speaking about auras, you know, sensing things, I suppose that's what I do when I
yeah.
meet people for the first time, and I get a sense of who and what they are.
Yeah. Yeah. You probably want to run
And
away.
the thing is, the thing is, you need to be in the right state of mind and or frame of mind to open yourself to feeling. Because if you're not, music, noise, there's so many things that
Mm,
distract you
mm,
from being able to do that. Because all of us, I believe, have the ability to a certain degree, and some of us have spiritual gifts. I believe in spiritual gifts. In
yeah.
other words, some of us have gifts that's more tangible than others. But I
Mm,
believe all of us can develop spiritual gifts, which means that we come from something more superior than we want to make ourselves out to be often,
yeah. Yeah.
and that we can achieve a lot more than we are currently living in.
That's
I
right.
mean, we're not um, giving ourselves the credit for our ability that we should and what we are able to live as and achieve. And in this very highly consumerist society where advertising and you're just being hammered with things left, right, and center, how can spirituality come to the fore? How can you even start beginning to think about auras if you have
Yeah.
all this noise in the background?
I mean, it's interesting that you bring that up because that is exactly why I feel we've perhaps also met, is to explain the other, that side in which people often tend to become dismissive of. Um, if you look at, like I was saying earlier on, um, people need to get in touch with themselves. They need to own themselves first before they can even decide whether they are convinced. Ownership, that's the big deal.
Absolutely right.
Yeah.
One thing I often tell people, people will come to me and say, but what do I do about that person and that person or the people in my neighborhood or the people in my family? And the first thing I say to them, but what have you done for yourself?
Mm.
I always bring it back to themselves, because if you haven't done what is necessary for yourself first, how can you influence someone else?
Mm.
I don't think it's possible.
Uh,
You need to first prepare yourself, strengthen yourself, teach yourself, and then believe in yourself because of what you've done.
mm.
People that believe in themselves without doing anything, there's once again psychosis stepping in.
Mm.
And I see this happening throughout society, and I think social media is a huge problem with regards to that.
Yeah.
Um, when people come to me and they see me as some kind of celebrity, I think they might feel a bit let down when I don't behave like one, because I can never see myself as such.
Mm.
Although other people will need that hero figure, that person that they look up to, instead of looking at themselves
Yeah.
and looking at what they can physically do.
Yeah.
And I tell them, focus on you first. Sort yourself out first. And I mean, that's a very basic way of putting it.
Mm.
Make sure that you have all the needs for normal sustenance for your body, and then everything you need to help you spiritually.
Yeah.
And once you do that, then you only start to become someone that can be a tool in the hands of good.
Yeah.
And we need lots of those tools around
Yeah.
the country.
Yeah.
We need many of them, and the
Yeah.
world.
Yeah. There are definitely a lot of people that I know that often feel alone. They've often, sent me a mail or something where they say, I don't think it's possible I think I'm the only one here. So um, I would then always say, you need to look at it. There's two sides and way to look at it is either you look at it and there are only so many spread over the world that they are deliberately spread out so that there's a bigger impact to anchor a positive energy. So you would need to do that in your neighborhood. And if they don't listen, go bigger, um, like what you've been doing. So definitely being aware of one's personal self. Ownership, claiming ownership of the self will help you to not fall into a subjected belief, which is what's been
And
going on.
that's vital.
Yeah,
I speak a lot about people behaving like subjects,
yeah,
because no one is born a subject.
yeah,
You start behaving like one. It's a behavior you acquire.
that's
In other
correct.
words, you can get out of it, because it's not something you're born with. When you, especially teenagers, show me a teenager that thinks they're a subject. They
Mm,
think they're running the world.
yeah,
And the moment they go into that Rothschild-induced monetary system environment,
mm,
and the banks start giving the loans, then they become subject to things for the first time in their lives.
yeah,
And that is how the system we live in now is set up. And
mm,
we can set ourselves free from that. And I don't want to delve into that too much, except
mm,
for the fact that the person uh, that turns themselves into a subject, because you've done it, not someone else.
yeah,
You can also reverse that, and that is the good news.
that's right. That's right. It's
We
an
all have that
actual contract.
ability.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's a soul contract. When I say soul contract, I'm saying as a child, when you have a parent who is abusive to you and they say something to you and it creates a particular belief pattern or a contract that you subconsciously or you consciously agree to. Like, for example, a parent would say, yeah, you are just the rubbish. And you go, okay, I am just the rubbish and I will grow up being just the rubbish. And that was a subjected contract that I've agreed to on a subconscious level. Um, there is a lot of that which happens in, like what you've just used as an example with regards to the capitalism with a K, which is chaos magic. Um, there's a lot of that agreement on a subconscious level. They depend on you to do that. They actually expect you to put a lot of your creative force into that so that they have then the opportunity to scoop from you. And that's what
Well,
you...
that happens from a that happens from a very young age, unfortunately. So it happens through religious institutions. It happens through the schooling system. It happens through the governance system. So it's an endless barrage of things that you feel subjected to. And the systems are designed that way to turn you into a subject mindset instead of a citizen's mindset. And this is why I'm trying to create this narrative where people stop themselves from being subjects and learn to become citizens, because a citizen is actually a very useful tool in any country. Very, very useful. And to become a citizen is a process. It doesn't happen overnight. And it takes time. And the level at which you're a citizen varies from time to time. The same with me. I need to make sure that I'm being as much of a citizen as I can be, because the concept of a citizen is not a bad one. If you do it properly. Being a subject, I don't know if there's anything good about being a subject.
A crown is what requires a subject. Crown. Crown.
Yeah. Exactly.
Which is obviously, there's a very interesting myth from Greece where it's a myth about Psyche, where the myth suggests that Psyche was never loved. She always felt she was never loved. And they use Psyche as feminine because feminine is receiving of things, of experiences, but adorned for her beauty, of course, for what she represented. And later she became unhappy and allowed herself to become objectified, which is then subjected. So the psyche becomes the object from what we can see in mainstream, what they do. They love to play with your mind as if it is an object of their desire.
I like the way you put that, that your mind is an object. I don't think just of desire, but an object to be controlled. So that you can be subjected. There needs to be control first for you to subject yourself to something. And there needs to be a payoff. A payoff, very much like an agreement. Something needs to be given to you, so there's a trade. And in many of the financial systems of today, the trades, Lauren often calls it the fruits of Babylon are very tasty.
Very apt.
Yes, and most of us are trapped by many of them. And so we need a complete change in how we think across the world to move away from being subjects to that and still have joy. Because life has to be about joy, experiencing fulfillment, and being able to experience the best that you are capable of. And that it's not measured in super yachts and spaceships and things like that.
External
it needs
reality,
to be measured.
External reality is never, it's ever changing. It's never set. You will never be satisfied because it's always changing.
Never. Yes.
That's why.
So I mean, what is a state in which a person can say that you're really happy? And the other day in the interview with Rob, I don't know if you watched the interview.
Yes, I have.
Rob made a statement which I thought was quite profound. The fact that your state of being content or happy or feeling safe depends on all the threats around you. And the absence of threats. That you can measure it by the absence of threats. So all you need to create, if you look at that analogy, is you create a whole lot of threats. And evil is all about threats, threatening things, and creating things that threaten us, our happiness. And then you will change how you perceive happiness. Happiness will now be to live in a security estate. Happiness will now be to walk, my family calls it face panties. I'm sorry. I just had to use that because a mask, yes, that's the thing. Or many other things that actually controls your behavior outside of what is normal or natural. So we've moved away from natural a lot, and that is why I believe the name of the organic humanity movement is so apt and brilliant.
Yeah.
And it really speaks to what we need to become to experience joy and happiness again.
Yeah, definitely. That's very important that we start to become convinced of our own inner joy, and the joy is natural. So yeah, and not dependent on what is around us to make us feel joyous. But yeah, that is definitely your thoughts on. Oh, sorry, Dez. Your thoughts on where we are going with this, with joy, naturally. How do we implement it?
Well, the first thing people need to believe in is themselves. So if you need to experience the absence of threats by empowering yourself with knowledge. So if you have knowledge and you gain knowledge that mitigates threats, then you will be happy.
Okay.
So this is what we are doing across the country, is empowering people, teaching people the skills to know anything that might be a threat to them physically, their physical bodies, because our physical bodies have a very strong influence on us spiritually. If you are hungry, physically hungry, it influences how your mind thinks. It influences your ability to discern, your ability to be happy. So if you have water to drink and you have food to eat and you have a shelter and you have energy to keep you warm and you have something to keep you sane, it's those 5 things I always speak about. Then you can achieve happiness. And you don't need any advertising in that. You don't need any of the fruits of Babylon in that. You need none of those things to meet those 5 things: water, food, shelter, energy, and something to keep you sane. Those are the things that bring you happiness. It mitigates threats.
Yes.
And once you mitigate threats, then you become empowered, and then you become a citizen, because now you're not a subject anymore. If you know where you're going to get your water from, if you know where you're going to get your food from, if you know how you're going to shelter yourself from the elements, and this does not mean a mansion up on a hill. If you know how you're going to get energy to keep yourself warm, and if you know how you're going to keep yourself sane so that you don't become psychotic or psychosis doesn't set in, then you're on a path of happiness.
Yeah. Though I do, we're very much firmly are implementing that every day. I'm talking about personally now.
Yes.
For those who are interested in wanting to know more about this happiness, about joy, about being organic within your environment, your temple, who you are. How can people get a hold of you? I'm going to put your details at the end of the video for everyone from international to reach out as well. And you would be giving information.
That'll be wonderful.
Okay, that would be great.
You know, the principles that we try to apply across South Africa are universal principles. So they can be used anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
And they should be implemented everywhere in the world, without a doubt. And hopefully South Africa can help to be a beacon of hope when it comes to freedom, because if we can speak about freedom, that's quite important. You know, one of the new series that I'm starting today, and I'm recording the first video tonight, is called the Freedom Initiative. Just for us to have an initiative to understand what freedom is, because many people don't understand that freedom brings happiness. So a lot of us have been enslaved, like I have, through a lot of my life, subjected to things and enslaved to things. And all of us will always be to varying degrees.
Yeah.
But we need to be as free as possible. And with freedom comes responsibility. But it's absolutely possible for us to be free. In our country, you can do whatever you want, literally, at this stage. and you might face heavy consequences for it, but you are free to do whatever you want at this stage.
Yeah, this is
You
true.
know, I can go wherever I want and do to anyone what I want, whether it's a hug or whether it's a slap. I can do that in this country. We are that free here at this point in time.
Yeah.
And with that freedom, it shows the fact that people loot trucks, the fact that people burn down things, the fact that people have jungle justice shows how free our country is.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people say, but look how terrible your country is. I say, no, this country is incredibly free. Yes. All we need to do is teach people correct principles, and they will govern themselves in a good way. And, you know, if people don't want to live in a free society where you protect life, where you look at all the things that makes a person happy, if you don't want that, then you need to go and live outside of that society.
Which is what probably is happening right now. I mean, the more that's what I'm seeing. That's what you're seeing. We're seeing the people who actually don't really want freedom. They are the ones that sit and really want to promote the fear and the anxiety, and they want to carry them. They clutch onto the mask as if it's some extra skin, you know. I've seen how people sometimes clutch onto it. It's like quite interesting to see that. And I'm thinking, at some point you did this consciously, chose to do this, then it tells me that you really don't want to think for yourself. You just want someone to dominate you, right?
Yeah, you know, myself as a person want to even help those people. And I don't know. Yeah, I do want to help them, but at this stage I can only focus on those that already want help and the people that want information. I don't have time to get to those, but it's not that I'm cold to them at all. They might change in future, and that's why the critical mass of people that do want to be free is vital at this stage. Yeah. For us to grow that collective consciousness across the country and then across the world. And if that collective consciousness grows, the sheep that are just falling in line will eventually start following what we are doing. That's right. And they'll want freedom. They will see the fruits of freedom. They will see the happiness that comes with it.
Yeah, it is true. It is definitely part of the process. This is where science takes place, where this particular force is so strong it actually draws all the other particles with it. And this is what I think, what I feel is going to happen.
It's actually, and I see it happening. I mean, on the fourth round of the tour, the meetings doubled in size. Not because of me. People are organizing the meetings. Remember, they're giving us a venue, and then they organize it. And then it just happens. It's incredible to experience this. I remember once going to a meeting on the other side of Joburg, and it was 10 minutes before the meeting was supposed to start, and I think there were 4 or 5 of us. And the lady said, maybe we're going to have about 10 people at the meeting. And I said to her, watch, you will see that we will not be able to sit here where you have set out your chairs, which I think there was enough for about 20 people. More than 40 people rocked up in that last 10 minutes, and the entire street was packed, and she was shocked. We had to move into the garden and fetch extra chairs. People had to go across the street to fetch more chairs. So why did I know that that was going to happen? I could feel it. I could sense it. And then it did. Every single time it happened. And it's just incredible how when I believe you're doing the right thing, and you're following the right course, then the right things will add up. And it just seems to happen.
Inherently, there is that force of energy that is always operating in that way. I've been trying to share that information for a long, long time, that you need to connect with yourself, harmonize with what you are, who you are, and then you automatically go into that stream. You just slip into it, and you're part of that.
I like the way you describe that, slip into that stream, because that stream wasn't created by me. I'm just in that stream, and I think if you want to get off that boat in the stream, it messes things up a bit because
Yeah, it
it was
does.
intended for you to do that, and maybe someone else has to replace what you're doing. Because in the end, I believe good will win,
Yeah.
and this is very important to me. Is that um, it's not just about having hope in something. We are making it happen.
Yes. We are
We
consciously
are
creating.
actually acting consciously, doing what is necessary, and that consciousness
Absolutely.
is just going everywhere. And the first time we noticed forces of evil
Mm.
was actually when we were in Cape Town. And I found that very disturbing because I'm from Cape Town. I
Yeah.
lived in my whole life. For some reason, just like I felt in 2014 when I voted with Lauren for the first time.
Mm.
And that day we felt really good. It was like there was this awesome energy
Mm.
uh, in the air. I could just feel it
Mm.
that morning when I got up.
Mm.
That energy is gone. I don't feel
Wow.
it in Cape Town at the moment, and I feel sorry for the people that are there currently, and there's awesome people there. It was a huge success,
Mm.
but I could feel what they're up against. There's so much negative energy, and we need more and more people there to counteract that. In other words, the balance is disturbed. Maybe you will know more about balance with regards to energy,
Yeah.
but we need a lot more good people doing hard, good work in Cape Town to turn that around. Because at the moment, it seems like evil is winning, and evil can come in the most wonderfully disguised ways that looks absolutely wonderful,
It's
dressed up.
interesting. It's interesting you bring that up because I actually had a sense that perhaps it had something to do with, wasn't it Cape Town as the first city to be announced to be the smart city in South Africa? Was
Yes, well, yes, a century city in Cape Town, and
yeah,
they openly bragging about it.
right,
This first smart city in Africa, in fact,
correct,
and they had these huge signboards up to say the first smart city in Africa.
right.
And
So all they
yeah,
need to
if you
do, sorry, all they need to
no
do,
no
all they need to do is to go to Table Mountain. They can come from wherever they are, go to Table Mountain and go and do their inverted ritual to claim the psyche of the people, just like the Nazis did with the Hara in Ireland and everywhere else, and not just the Nazis. I'm not hammering on the Nazis only because they're just the a part of a bigger, that's what they do is, if I want to go and claim your country's psyche, I want to claim your people, then I'm going to claim your psyche by going to your sacred sites. And I will then take over your psyche, your spirituality in that way. And I've found books and books and books and books and books and books and dreams to tell me that this is how they do it. This is why I'm hammering it. And this is why we're talking about it. And that's what they did. They went to Table Mountain. I can tell you for a fact, there must be pictures of them all celebrating up there. For sure. That's how it happened. It can be changed. It can be switched. People can go back there and
uh,
claim it.
I think
Or,
every individual has strength beyond what they can ever imagine or comprehend, and they need to use that strength within themselves first. And this is why I hammer on there cannot be a hero. I can't be a
yeah,
hero. Lauren can't be a hero. All the other people that are working hard can't be heroes except in their own lives.
I
In other
agree.
words, you need to be a hero in your own life and care enough about yourself to make the effort to turn yourself into a tool so that you can become a citizen. And once you have a citizenry, goodness, I mean, there's so much good that you can do. And
Yeah,
we have to go back to the word good all the time because good and evil exist. And I like to focus on good
mm,
and not give the people that want to practice anything evil any time of day. I actually try and ignore them completely.
yeah,
And because if a person is positive, they cannot touch you or do anything to you physically. They cannot do anything to a person that is focused on good, and
Agree.
a person that's open to that inspiration, that can warn you. And I've heeded those warnings in the past. And
Mm,
that is a good thing. It's not a bad thing. I have packed up my family and left in an
mm,
instant, told them to pack the car and leave without asking why or how, and go somewhere else.
mm,
And I don't ask questions afterwards as to why I had to do it. I really don't. It doesn't matter.
mm. It's not important.
I
It's not.
trust, yeah, I trust those feelings I've had over the years,
Mm,
and I trust that they will always have a good result. They're good fruits, and I've seen that every single time. You know, after traveling over 50,000 kilometers, not a single flat tire, not a single broken car, nothing,
mm,
everything, no accident, no illness, with 6 people in an entire year. You have to tell me that is amazing. It's a miracle. Some people might not like the word miracle, but I do like the word miracle for one
I do
simple
too.
reason. It denotes something that science cannot explain. What are the odds of you traveling that distance on the roads that we've been without a single incident, without a family of 6 getting sick once after meeting with thousands of people, being in contact with thousands of animals, even the
Mm,
pets and everything along the way. Um, we've been healthy.
mm.
Why?
Because you're in the stream.
Yeah.
That's because,
And
yeah.
I can't explain it, but I know it's true, if
Like,
that makes sense.
well, I can tell you, um, it is going to, the outcome, I've seen the outcome. Like I've seen the variations of the outcome, and the outcome shows that goodness is going to prevail. It is busy prevailing. I'm saying it in present
Already,
time. So
yes.
that, yes,
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 absolutely.
yeah,
It's already in progress. I know that for a fact because I can
yeah,
see it with what's happening.
yeah. We can feel it because it changes not just, it changes the uh, environmental chemistry that we can feel. I'm very sensitive to the environmental chemistry. I suppose I'm full of nonsense, but um, you can feel the environment change. You can feel people are feeling a little happier. Sometimes you can feel they're sad, but you can feel predominantly there's a lot more happiness, even if it's just perhaps to become more at peace with solutions, which is what you teach people as well, solutions. And yeah, very important.
Yeah, solutions, believing that there is a solution is a precursor to hope and action.
Mm,
If
yeah.
there's no plan and there's no solution, then which was what the second part of my tour was about, the second and third part, it was all solutions and actions based. And I think it really made a difference. You know, I've seen some of the people in my live stream say, no, you should go to the fourth round meetings that are the next level. I don't know if it's different levels. I think it focuses on different things. And the people that came throughout the period of time that I was touring, to the first round, second round, third round, and fourth round, they would have seen different things. And places like KwaZulu-Natal at a first and a second round. And fortunately, the people there uh, got all of that information before we went to Cape Town. There was
Mm,
a reason why we left Cape Town till last when
yeah.
we are from Cape Town.
Yeah.
We actually left at the last. We didn't feel right about starting there. We didn't ask questions. Why? How? This doesn't make sense. And we will just go ahead and have meetings there first. No. We started touring immediately and had our first meetings in Wilderness. So, and later when we returned there, we knew that if we had done it at that time, it would have been the worst thing we could do.
Mm. I have to say that a few of us have done some very deep spiritual work on the southern hemisphere, in other words, and the entire bottom half of the planet, as well as some of our friends have done the upper half of the planet, where we specifically targeted the sacred sites of all the continents, of all the countries. And we did a massive, massive clearing. And this we did a little while ago. So it'd be interesting to see what you pick up if you do have someone there or you can talk to. Sometimes I do know that if you speak to someone, you'll be able to pick up on the immediate energy around that person, that you'll be able to sense it, see if it's any better, perhaps.
Yeah. I choose not to go into too much personal detail with regards to that. I do feel I need to protect myself in certain instances in public forums.
Yeah.
Not because of you, but because of other people that might be viewing the content. And so I have a limit.
Do you want me to cut this? Don't forget we're recording this week. I
No,
can cut this.
no. You don't have to. But it's I think it's important that I will always treat it like a live stream, because then it's more authentic. People can just sense and feel that. So there's certain things that is best not to discuss. If you actually understand the things that people will accuse people of, then you will understand that I can't go to a place where people can accuse me of things that they don't understand in context, because they're not talking to me directly. And that is why on a platform such as YouTube, it's important for me to stay in a realm and a sphere that most people can understand. And that if anyone from the outside come into the sphere where we are functioning right now, that they cannot take any of that information and misconstrue it in any way, shape or form. So yes, that is just my prompting at this moment in time.
I got it. By default, I am the same with the information that is on my channel as well. It is, people are unable to encrypt, to understand my language, the way that I speak, because I've chosen it that way. So essentially it is encrypted to the ones who have to hear it. So yeah.
I do have problems on my channel because I do speak to the people that have been to my meetings, my videos. So there's many new people coming on that don't understand why I do certain things. I actually had someone ask me today, but why did you do a video on the masks and the sensor in the masks? And I don't think that he actually watched the entire video, because at the end I speak about the fact that you'll be monitored, tracked and traced through a mask, wearing a mask. And that it will monitor your breathing, not just your breathing, but what you are breathing.
It's the same
in other words, it'll be able to pick up on alcohol levels. Are you having alcohol? In other words, urodishabina, because you're consuming alcohol wherever you are, or whether you're smoking. There's so many things that people will be able to know about that no authority in the world should have a right over a person's individuality or their freedom or liberty to exercise their rights, to consume something.
That it is.
So you will get it. The person was actually so upset. He said, I must stop it. I shouldn't give advertising to an article such as that. And, you know, at the end of the day, I need people to know, the people that have been to my meetings, why I said X, Y, Z, because I can go into a meeting with people face to face and then discuss things at length. And they can ask me questions. And on YouTube, you don't have that format where people can now ask if they don't understand something. This video is going to be recorded. It's being recorded, then edited, and then put out there. We don't actually need to edit anything in this case, but there's no one that can ask us questions directly now. They can ask us questions later. And it's important that there's no misunderstanding of anything that we speak about. That is vital, because I care about a person that actually watches. I
Yeah.
do care about them. And when the person is bothered by something, I do want to answer them or help them if I'm able to. If it's just a one-sided thing, it's quite sad. Obviously, it becomes difficult for me to get to all the comments in my videos because sometimes there's hundreds,
Mm.
and to physically get to them is just impossible. But I've really enjoyed what we've
Yeah. Thank you.
discussed so far.
Thank you. I've also enjoyed connecting with you on such depth. Um, for people overseas from everywhere in the world, if they wanted to follow this particular um, organic belief or organic path to slip into the stream with us, what do they do? How can I do this where they are? Are you able to
Well,
reach
I
everywhere?
would say first that they can contact you, and you can give them the contact details
Okay.
because there is a website, there is a Facebook page, there are YouTube channels that explain what this is about. And you know, you've experienced yourself what we are trying to do, empowering individuals
Yes.
to become the best that they can be. And there's training involved, which is really special, I believe.
Yeah.
And we've only started with that now, and we will roll out more sections of the training to empower people again. And it's all about not being subjected to things and being self-reliant. I think self-reliance is the most organic thing that a person can do. When you depend on other things for the 5 things you need for survival, water, food, shelter, energy, and something to keep you sane, how um, how can you be self-reliant? I mean, you've literally subjected yourself to other entities to provide you what you need for life.
Yeah.
And it's a very bad state of being to be in. Spiritually, it is damnation.
Mm.
And you know, maybe I can tell you how I see the word damn, because I will still do a video on that myself.
Yeah.
But the word damn means literally you are damned. It's like a dam, and there's no water flowing in, there's nothing flowing out, there's no progress whatsoever. If a dam is getting water in, clean water in, then you can let water out. You can start influencing, and that water is going to be a mixture of what was in the dam. So what is in your mind is a mixture of a whole lot of things. If you get new information in, then you can start sharing information on the other side, and it's going to be a mixture of everything you've experienced, just like water mixes in a dam. You often get a very clean stream coming in, and then the dam might get a bit murky or muddy, and the water overflowing might be a bit murky itself. But at least there's water going out and feeding the river downstream. So you want a dam that's alive. And the more fresh water that flows into the dam, the more it clears up. And the more you have clean water coming out the other side. So eventually, you have clean water running in, you have clean water overflowing, and you have a thriving ecosystem within that dam.
Yeah. Oh.
It's very simple, really. But think of that dam as your mind.
Yeah.
And your soul and your spirit.
Well, that is, yeah, I'm extremely, I'm a very firm believer in discipline, personal discipline in terms of that. And so everything else applies to the same way. And so Desmond, thank you so much for
thank you so much for having me.
Thank you very much. I'm going to end the recording. If you wanted to say anything else afterwards, Des?
Did you enjoy it? Is this what you wanted?
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, I had no idea.